What's happening, everyone? Hope you're having a great day so far. Wraith here with another Doom Eternal lore video, and this time I wanted to talk about the invasion and fall of Earth. This is an important topic within the lore as it will give us an idea on what happened during the events and how successful Hell was against humanity. Keep in mind that there will be spoilers in this video, so if you want to keep everything a surprise, then you'd want to come back to the video later on. Before I get going, I always like to say how much I appreciate the support on the channel. By the time this video is uploaded, we should have already hit the goal of 25,000 subscribers. Thank you so much, and in return, I will be giving out 2 copies of Doom Eternal. Be sure to watch my Doom 2016 streams on the 17th and 19th, as I will pick out one person from each stream. I'll keep everyone up to date on what time they will start, as they probably won't be at the same time. If you are new here and love Doom, then you are in the right place. Be sure to subscribe and set up notifications so you can stay up to date with all my Doom Eternal walkthroughs and other lore videos after the 20th. You can expect a ton of content on this game from me for months to come. Let's rip and tear those demons together. Within many stories, games, and movies, the apocalypse tends to show the end of humanity in different ways. Whether that is by way of an asteroid or hell invading Earth, the end of days will be something that many are not prepared for, especially for what's happening in the world right now. Even if you are completely prepared for it, doesn't mean you will survive it. The people of Earth in the world of Doom were caught off guard, even when they had the means to somewhat repel the invasion. Within the lore of Doom Eternal, the Doomslayer was able to stop the invasion of Hell on Mars, but then was sent to an undisclosed location by the tether system that Samuel Hayden activated after stealing the Crucible from the Slayer. For all we know, the Slayer was sent somewhere where he could not get in the way of the UAC and their new research, including the weapon known as the Crucible. While the Doomslayer was cast into the void, the cult of the UAC survived and separated themselves from the rest of the UAC on Earth. They still had a desire to continue what Olivia Pierce started and found themselves worshipping Hell and being subject to the Hell Priest de Grenache. They were able to fortify themselves within their cultist base in the Arctic and prepare for the invasion on Earth. Once they were ready, they opened up multiple portals throughout the world for the Dark Realm to enter into our world. Immediately, the forces of Hell were so overwhelming that the entire planet was at war overnight. The military of Earth fought valiantly, but were no match of the forces of the undead. Fighting the forces of Hell would be near impossible for large fighting forces, as you may be able to kill hundreds or even thousands of demons, but every soldier or civilian that is lost, the forces of Hell are replenished with reinforcements as they would possess those fallen people. A good comparison would be like the mythical creature called the Hydra. If you cut off one head, 2 more grow in its place. Even when humanity had giant mechs and technology to fight off the forces of Hell, were no match, as the demon horde had titans and an endless army. We can see how the fall of Argent would have looked like in the end. Once the wraiths were taken out by Dagrov and his cabal, the people of Argenta were fighting a losing battle. Even the Night Sentinels left for dead in Hell after the treachery of the Dag and the Betrayer were not able to last long with their arsenal and mechs, as we can see the hellscape littered with the destroyed behemoths. The people of Argent were only able to last so long against the forces of Hell by way of the wraiths, but betrayal was their downfall. Much like humanity, the UAC betrayed their own people for a false promise of immortality within Hell. By the end of the first month of the invasion on Earth, the death toll reached the billions. That would mean that the portals had to have been placed near or within the major populations of Earth. To me, that would make sense, so the cultists could help the invasion be more successful. As far as the time frame is concerned, the 2 games of Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal take place about 8 months between each other, so the invasion could have been done either towards the end of those 8 months or sometime in the middle. The UAC Cultist division was established after the events of Doom 2016 as they broke away from the UAC, but would have lived on as many were affected by Hell's influence. Once the invasion was done with on Mars, Samuel Hayden would have wanted to make extra preparations in case of another invasion. He would have attempted to re-establish the facility on Mars, initiated the BFG 10,000 program on Phobos, and attempted to cover up the incident. If news of a Hell invasion on Mars came to Earth, both the governments and militaries would have taken action against the UAC. On top of that, I'm sure at some point some insurrectionists or possibly other energy companies would attempt to infiltrate the Mars facilities to know more about the Argent energy and sell it to the highest bidder. The BFG 10,000 would now not only serve the purpose of defending the station on Phobos, but to also attack any ships entering the proximity of the Red Planet without proper clearance. Of course, it would also serve the purpose of repelling an inevitable demonic attack as well. With the possession of the Crucible, the UAC would now have an endless portable supply of Argent energy. Since Argent Fracture and most of the Mars facilities were destroyed, Hayden now had a way to continue the research and provide energy for Earth. According to some of the concept images from the art book, it makes it seem as if Samuel brought the Crucible to Earth and created another Argent tower of sorts as a way to process the energy for mankind. I had another video a while back theorizing on what could have happened with Samuel Hayden between the games and how the invasion could have started. If you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description below. With the Crucible being on Earth and containing so much Argent energy, the Cultists would now have a means to open up enough portals between Hell and our dimension if they were able to get their hands on it. We know that an Argent accumulator from Doom 2016 was enough to rip open a portal temporarily to Hell, but with the Crucible containing the energy from the 3 wraiths would be enough to open multiple portals for a longer duration. Now, of course, this is just a theory, as the lore within the game could explain a bit more on how the Cultists started the invasion. To me, this would make sense, as Samuel Hayden still hasn't learned his lesson about the problem with Argent energy. The Doomslayer knows full well the effects that it can have on lesser people, and because of it, the people of Argenta who were not lesser people still became victim to it. Hayden believes that Argent energy is still the answer, but at what cost? Even after the deaths of over 61,000 people, he still wanted to continue the work. Honestly, Hayden is a very interesting character within the recent Doom games. He's not entirely the bad guy in the story, but does things that will benefit others, such as humanity, at a high cost. At the end of Doom 2016, he mentions to the Slayer that things will get worse without Argent energy, which would somewhat be correct. Imagine if, out of nowhere, the world had a blackout and each country had no way to power or re-establish their infrastructure. It would be anarchy overnight, with everyone at each other's throats to survive. In all reality, this is what happened on Earth during the invasion. There was a blackout and practically every man-made form of technology was unusable except for proprietary equipment used by the military or the ARC. After mankind suffered heavy casualties from the invasion and the blackout between Earth and Mars, Samuel Hayden made his way back to Earth and helped form the ARC or ARC. The ARC is a global military crisis relief initiative that could ultimately be mankind's last source of hope besides the Doomslayer. With the Crucible and the soldiers of humanity, Samuel Hayden would have had somewhat of a successful campaign against the forces of Hell. The ARC was able to allow at least 100,000 civilians to escape into the orbit of Earth in cryosleep in hopes to continue the human race. However, over time, the makeshift fortresses and bases established by the ARC fell victim to the overwhelming forces of Hell. Only a handful of survivors kept the fight going in areas not affected by the invasion. It's still crazy to think how many people died during the invasion and how many demons were able to invade our world. I would imagine that the ARC might have resorted to launching nukes all around the planet as a way to somewhat stop the invasion, much like how the Cog from Gears of War used the Hammer of Dawn on their own cities to help stop the Locust advances. Unless, of course, they had weapons of Argent energy, as the world went away from nuclear power after the discovery of the Argent fraction. I wonder if they had nukes that were powered by Argent energy, and if they were used, they may have done nothing except create more portals to Hell and or mutate civilians within the blast radius into demonic aberrations. It would be the same thing as an Argent wave, which would mutate people into demons, so if that would be the case and Argent nukes were used, they just help the Dark Realm even more. Let me know what you think about that theory down in the comment section. There is a dedicated section within the Codex entry about the fall of Earth, so I can't wait to dive more into that lore and see what really happened within that time frame. We are now in the final days of the release of Doom Eternal. The game has grown so much hype and may end up being Game of the Year. I really can't wait for it, and it will be a game that I can enjoy playing for many years to come. It's honestly going to be an interesting experience, as this game is something I am more excited for than many other games that were released in the past. On top of that, this game was one of the main reasons I started the channel, so it's definitely a milestone for sure. This is a great time to be alive, and we all have the opportunity to play one of the best games ever. Other than that, I hope you all enjoyed the video and learned something new about the lore for Doom Eternal. Be sure to like, subscribe, and set up notifications so you can stay up to date when I start streaming Doom 2016 this week and for when I upload my playthroughs of the campaign of Doom Eternal. Expect a ton more content down the road from this game, as I will be covering more topics on the lore, features, and tips and tricks. Also, be sure to follow me on my social media accounts at RipNtear Gaming to stay up to date with other things over there. You guys are all awesome, and like I've mentioned many times, I really appreciate the support I have had on the channel ever since I started it back in 2018. Until next time, fellow Slayers, don't forget to rip and tear. Peace.